Year 7 and welcome back to Maths with me, Miss Sayers. We are going to carry on looking at percentages today and calculating common percentages of amounts. So to start with, please can you make sure you've got the following equipment? Can you make sure you've got a pen, a pencil, a ruler, and some kind of maths book, Hegarty maths book, something like that to write on, those 4 things. If you haven't got any of them, please pause the video and go and grab them now. So, we are going to be, as I said, working on percentages, and we are going to be calculating common percentages of amounts. So we're going to write that as our title. Quite a long one. Remember, if I am going too fast for you at any point, please pause the video, go back, or you can always replay me as well. It's completely up to you how you do this. So, we're going to refresh with what we did last time to begin with. So last time we looked at finding 100%, 50%, 25%, 10%, and 1%. And we found out how to do those things. And just to illustrate, I am actually going to look at finding 100% of £24, 50% of £24, 25% of £24, 10% of £24, and 1% of £24. So to find 100%, 100% is the whole thing. It's equivalent to 1. So that means that if I want 100% of £24, that is just £24. What was 50% equivalent to? Now, if you remember, it was equivalent to a half. And to find a half, we've got to divide by 2. So if I want to find 50% of 24, I have got to do £24 divided by 2, which is £12. So 50% you had to divide by 2. What about 25%? Now 25% was equal to a quarter. And to find a quarter of something, we had to divide it by 4. So 25% we had to divide by 4, so we've got to do 24 divided by 4, which is £6. 10%, now 10% was equal to 1/10. So if I'm trying to find 10% of 24, I've got to do £24 divided by 10, because I am finding 1/10. 10% and 1/10 are the same thing. £24 divided by 10. Now to divide by 10, you've just got to move your decimal place 1 spot. So it's actually £2.40. And because it's money, we've got to write 40 rather than just 2.4. Finally, I don't know why I've written 25 there. It should be 24. We've got to find 1% of £24. Now 1%, because percent means out of 100, is equivalent to 100th. So if I want to find 100th of something, I've got to do 24 divided by 100. And in this case, that is £0.24, or we could write that as 24p, either way. But those were the key things we learned last time. So just to remind you, and kind of write it down a slightly different way. If we wanted to find 100%, that is just the whole thing. 50% we had to divide by 2, 25% was dividing by 4, 10% was dividing by 10, and 1% was dividing by 100. Now, the key one we're going to be thinking about today is using this 10%. Okay, so that is my key one. So I'm going to write that at the top. You can write all those down. You could pause the video, go back and pause it and write those down. But we remember that to find 10%, we have to divide by 10. So just say we are asked to find 10% of 50. We would have to do 50 divided by 10, which is 5. Now let's say, rather than being asked to find 10%, we are actually asked to find 20% of 50. Now 20% is 2 10%. It's a 10% and another 10%. Now we know that 10%, because we found it up here of 50, was 5. So if I know that 10% of 50 is 5, and I've got another 10% is another 5, that means that 20% of 50 is 5 add 5, which is 10. So we can use our little building blocks to make bigger ones, okay? So 20% of 50 is 10, because 10% is 5 and 10% is 5, so that means 20% is 10. Let's change it. Let's not do that one. Let's say we're going to find 40% of 50. Now 40% is a 10% and another 10% and another 10% and another 10%. Or it is 4 lots of 10% because we've got 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 4 times. Now, 10% was 5. So if we do 4 times that 5, or 5, add 5, add 5, add 5, that's going to give us 20. So 40% of 50 is 20. So the really key thing here, we're using that fact. We know to find 10%, we've got to divide by 10. And we're then using that 10% to find loads of other percentages. Okay, we're going to do one more. And I'd really like you to make sure you've got all this written down. And we are going to find 80% of £900. Now, it's a multiple of 10, so I'm going to start off by finding out what 10% is. So I'm going to do 10% of £900. And to get that, I'm going to have to do my 900 divided by 10, which is 90. So I know that 10% is £90. Now I don't want just 10%, I want 80%. And 80% is 8 lots of that 10%. Now if 10% was 90, if I've got 8 times by £90, that's going to give me 720. And so 80% of £900 is 720. And again, all I've done is use what I knew 10% was, and then I've built it up. I've said actually 80% is 8 lots of 10%. So 8 lots of that 90 is 720. Okay, girls, make sure you have a go at the quiz now. Remember, you've got 3 attempts to do it. So take your time, come back to the video if you need to. Mr. Byrne is running his help session at 10 o'clock today. So go along to that and get help if you need it. Good luck, girls.